We had a huge success. I'm sitting in the command bus. We have a hostage situation and we have the drone. It's on a high rise. So the drone's up on the 14th floor looking in and watching this individual. And there's yelling going on inside the apartment. And we're watching this live. We have the feed through DroneSense. And our SWAT team in the hallways, they radio in like, hey, we're hearing yelling. We think that there's a life safety issue. We're going to do an emergency breach. And we're like, no. We're watching on the drone. There's no immediate danger. The suspect is just yelling into the phone to our negotiators.
Welcome to DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, a podcast by DroneSense. We explore real-world applications of drones in emergency response, offering a close examination of evolving trends in drone technology and its impact on public safety. I'm your host, Joe Kearns, Strategic Partnership Manager here at DroneSense. And hey, as you're listening, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe there's a story or a challenge from your own experience that resonates, or is there a topic you'd like me to cover in future episodes? Reach out to us on LinkedIn by searching for DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or visit dronesense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts. Your feedback helps shape the show, and you might just inspire our next episode. Now, let's dive into today's conversation on advancing public safety through drones. Welcome to DroneCast, where we explore latest innovations in drone technology and its applications in public safety. I'm your host, Joe Kearns. Today, we're thrilled to have Jason Cokinos, a seasoned law enforcement leader and innovator, join us. With over 15 years in law enforcement, Jason has been instrumental in integrating drone technology into Montgomery County Police Department in Maryland. From enhancing response times to improving community safety, his work is shaping the future of policing. In this episode, we'll dive into Jason's journey, the challenges his department faced without traditional air support, and how drones became a game changer. Stay tuned for an inspiring discussion. Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to DroneCast.
Thanks for having me on. It's awesome. Appreciate it.
Good stuff, Jason. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So, Jason, with your extensive background in law enforcement and community engagement, what initially sparked your interest into using drones in police operations?
Yeah, so Montgomery County, Maryland, we're right outside of DC, urban, area, over 1.1 million people. So we're part of the major city agencies in the country. And of that, we don't have a helicopter. We don't have air support. So we're one of the few, I think, our size that does not have air support. So that has been really a challenge for as long as I've been around, coming up almost on 19 years. And there's so many times I wish I had air support. So, obviously drones came about. We started using them in 2020. And just to see that aerial perspective, and I had been on a bunch of helicopter ride-alongs about the LAPD and some other places, and just to see the assistance of it from the air, right? So then we start using drones and it's like, hey, we don't have a helicopter. This is pretty dang close with regards to what we can provide from a visual perspective. So I've been really interested in that because we've been lacking that capability.
Excellent. Now, was this also even a draw to drone technology, even just as an individual too? Or is it really is that call for air support that you're looking for? Is there an expansion? Do you want to see it in the back of a squad car? What's the drive there?
Yeah, so I kind of fell into the drone program, and my agency had already been operating in a very limited capacity. We were doing tactical drones and mapping. We hadn't branched out to where we are today or even where we're going. So I got to special operations, and the deputy director that was working there, Tony Galladora, he was our lead drone guy at the time in the division, and he got me up to speed. And I had already had a burn for air support, obviously, for a number of reasons. I'd been working on the street in different capacities. So to see where the potential could be, and so we have a Tahoe, a drone response truck that can patrol out in the field. We can respond to things. Obviously we have the special operations call outs, we have mapping drones and all that. So we're doing kind of the different phases, right? We have the patrol led where it's in a vehicle now. Ultimately, where we want to go is we have over 35 decentralized pilots. Everybody has a drone in the trunk of their car. We're not quite there yet from a financial standpoint. But where we're looking at doing is assigning drones to each district station, and then the pilots that work in those districts can sign the drone out for their shift. So these are things we're working towards to get more drones out there to supplement our drone as first responder program as well.
Now, as I read that off too, just understanding you've held various roles in your career, all the way from officer to commander. How did your experience in law enforcement prepare you to manage the transition into incorporating cutting edge technology like drones into policing?
So I've been working proactive teams my whole career, street crimes, interdiction, things of that nature. So our agency historically has been very tech driven. We had former assistant chiefs and stuff and different bosses that were very much up on tech and wanting to push us to be more advanced in that capacity. So from early on, dash cams, the second version we had, I had one of the first, me and another guy, the first dash cams in the agency of that version, the Panasonic Arbitrator at the time. Axon body cams, we rolled them out in 2014. I was one of the pilot teams for that. So all the technology I've been kind of keeping my hands involved in when they're piloting or using, because I was always working in high tempo units. So we're the best units to test the technology. So getting over to special operations and then seeing our existing drone program and then expanding that was pretty easy. I'm not a tech expert, but I know enough to get around and seeing what it can do and then seeing what the potentials are and then working through that as a team. It's just, blowing up.
And you say you're not a tech expert, but Jason, I've spent some time with you. We've been on some webinars together. You're actually quite a force to be reckoned with there.
Well, DFR, anyone that starts a DFR program, it forces you to become a tech savvy person and it really, depending where you start with, like when we first started our program, there's so many links in the chain and you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have tech problems. Is it the internet? Is it a firmware version? Is it the controller? Is it the drone, right? So you have an issue and you need to work through it because you need to be operational. And so it actually forces not only whoever's overseeing the program, but everyone participating in the program. It forces you to have to learn these moving parts so that you can be resilient, push through problems, and get operational.
Well, Jason, thank you for that. Let's dive into some of the meat of this interview I want to talk through and some big questions here. Now, your department has been using drones for over a year now. Can you walk us through how the idea to integrate drones into operations first came about, and then what the initial goals for the program were?
Actually, we have 3 agencies in the county that were using drone technology: emergency management, the fire department, and the police department. So the fire department started this back in 2018, kind of getting the idea rolling of using drones. The police department, we started in about 2020. So our mapping, our tactical program has been around for 4 years now. So that was a pretty small footprint. We had just 4 or 5 people that were trained on doing that. When I got the special operations in 22, we were using them on tactical deployments and we had a huge success. I'm sitting in the command bus, we have a hostage situation and we have the drone. It's on a high rise. So the drone's up on the 14th floor looking in and watching this individual. And there's yelling going on inside the apartment. And we're watching this live. We have the feed through DroneSense coming into the bus. And our SWAT team in the hallways, they radio in hey, we're hearing yelling. We think that there's a life safety issue. We're going to do an emergency breach. And we're like, no. We're watching on the drone. There's no immediate danger. The suspect is just yelling into the phone to our negotiators. So because of that drone and that visual perspective, we were able to actually prevent a potential deadly force situation. And after that day, I think they already were sold in many regards, but that was a huge event that showed the technology.
That's a really unique scenario too. And that really shows the situational awareness that you gain from having the eye in the sky or even having that platform to bring it all together. Oh, that's actually great.
Our SWAT guys were bought in at that point and everyone was like, whoa. So it already was proven. This what sealed the deal with some people that weren't as in. So now our SWAT guys, every raid, every operation, SWAT's using drones. A lot of our SWAT guys have gotten their 107s and gone through our training. So then you're taking that, the successes of that, the de-escalation, the situational awareness. Well, now at the same time, Chula Vista had been running this drone as first responder. And Tony, the lieutenant that worked with me, was like, hey, check out what Chula's doing, knowing that I'm a helicopter nerd. Hey, I can't have a helicopter, but look, they're sending drones to respond to 911 calls. Man, I was like, that is awesome. So Miriam Fox, kudos to her and the team. We went out there, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica as well. Everybody was open their doors to us. And we went and saw this DFR, right? This DFR, how does it work? Man, I came back from California after that that was early 2023. And I told the chief, I said, hands down, we have got to do this. This is a done deal in my book. And that's kind of where it started kicking off.
Nice. Now, you kind of already answered this, but maybe we can dive a little deeper here. So, Montgomery County PD has developed a unique approach to drone usage tailored to your community needs. What are some of the key factors you considered when developing this approach?
So we looked at this twofold, right? We had to, in order to get something of this magnitude, DFR, it was going to take a lot of buy-in. We had to get everybody sold. So we started obviously up the chain internally, right? I need the chief of police. I need decision makers to buy into this. That actually happened pretty smooth. I had really good bosses at the time that were forward thinking, and we came back from California, presented everything we saw, and they were like, dude, that's awesome. Then we have to get our mayor, right, our county executive on board. Him and the number two they're very interested in tech. Particularly, we're facing, like everybody else, significant staffing shortages. So the only way we can deal with this in the short term is to leverage technology, work more efficient, work more effective. And you look at all these police departments, real-time crime centers, drones, all this other stuff, right? LPRs. And the agencies that are relying on tech are more efficient, they're more effective, and they're getting the job done, right? So our leadership knew that we got rising crime coming out of post-George Floyd, post-COVID, coupled with a staffing crisis. We've got to be innovative. So sold that. Then we had to go to our council, get them on board. They wanted us to do a bunch of community engagement. No problem. We went on like a road tour. We were like a rock band. We were hitting town halls. We were hitting everything. And so because we didn't reinvent the wheel, we learned from Chula and Beverly Hills and them and like ACLU and what were going to be the issues, right? And surveillance and Big Brother and all that. So we didn't reinvent the wheel. We went on listening tours. We talked to our community. We already had an established drone program for a couple of years. So we were able to already have some successes to talk about. And we basically just went and sold it and got people feeling comfortable. And so the community, we negotiated and got some input on policy on like they didn't want, facial recognition or audio to be intercepted, right? Or they didn't want us to be patrolling. They didn't want us to be doing surveillance, just general proactive surveillance. They didn't want us to be monitoring First Amendment events that were peaceful and lawful. So we basically found out, hey, for our community, what are the boundaries? What can get us to be able to use this? So we said, okay, for DFR, we're going to respond to 911 and officer-generated calls. That officer-generated call was important because if an officer sees criminal activity on patrol, that allows us to go assist that officer when they request the air support, when they request help and assistance. So we're going to be doing it in that fashion only. Now, I'll tell you what, since we've been running this program, I had a community meeting last week where they asked, can we do proactive patrols overnight for people breaking into cars? And it can be done, but that's not part of our community agreement. And that would have to be a larger discussion. But people are already getting more comfortable with it because I will tell you that, in my opinion, this is the most transparent thing that we've done in my agency. It is just fully wide open. And I think that transparency and that openness is what has made people's comfort so quick and why we have such a successful community, police, politician kind of environment with DFR. Is the transparency. We're using the DroneSense flight map website. Chula Vista was awesome to give us the code for Power BI to put a dashboard up. So we're being transparent, and I think the community sees that we're being genuine and honest and clean with what we're doing. And so we've been able to navigate pretty well.
Quick break to highlight whether you're flying, sharing, or managing your drone program, DroneSense has everything you need. It's hardware agnostic, so it works with a variety of drones, sensors, and other hardware, giving you ultimate flexibility. And with the ability to collaborate across agencies securely, DroneSense helps you scale from one drone to 100 plus, supporting you in everything from routine calls to disaster response. To learn more and get started, check out the link in the description. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear the community getting involved there and starting to already understanding what that is. And honesty receives honesty there. That's great.
But you also got to sell it. You got to sell it too. You got to sell the wins when you get cases. And this is one thing that we need to do a little bit better on is rolling out these 2-minute success clips. Here's a case study. Here's a case study. And nothing too long, just a little bit. We put a few out, but we have so many successes to publish. And once the community starts hearing about those, it catches like wildfire.
Well, Jason, let me know when you want to put one together. My team and I, we're all for it too. We'd love to. And share wins. I mean, you've been on other groups and communities that we have within this industry, and the end users and customers coming together, and you've been able to speak on this. And this is great. And also, your trailer videos are great. It's like a movie trailer. I loved it.
We have more coming. I mean, it's the one thing that, there's a couple of things we've learned in this, but we've learned that you got to sell the successes to keep the momentum going. You can't let your foot off the gas pedal once you start getting this program going, because you're going to want to expand. You're going to want to cover more areas. And you have to also keep reminding the community and the politicians of the value of the technology. So we're a little behind in success stories. We're going to get caught up here soon. Everything's proving concept when you do new stuff, and you got to be patient with it and understand that. And for anybody that starts at DFR, you got to prove concept. And, a chief is not going to give you extra resources when resources are limited unless it's definitely worth it. So we've proven concept. I now got access to a professional video creator, right, in-house, different things like that. So we're going to be ramping up.
Let's dive into some of the daily kind of ops here. Now, how have drones been integrated into your department's day-to-day operations? And then furthermore, could you share some examples of kinds of operations or incidences where these drones have been most beneficial?
Yeah, so we got our traditional program, like I think a lot of agencies have. We got a fatal collision. We're doing the 3D mapping, building explosions. So we fly for, it used to be emergency management, fire, and police all had our separate drone programs. About 2-ish years ago, we took over all drone operations out of the police department. So, we had a tornado come through. So post-tornado, we're out with emergency management, flying the path of the tornado for National Weather Service, getting some visual perspective. Building explosions, significant fires for the fire department. And with DroneSense, with the Magic Link, and the mission codes, we're up on a fire. That's getting pushed out to the battalion chiefs. We're on a particular mission set. That's getting pushed to the right people.
That's awesome to hear that, Jason. That's something that holds a lot of us at DroneSense to heart, is the multi-agency collaboration and such, and just love hearing this.
Yeah, and that's the thing with DroneSense, right? You can set up, obviously, the teams and the different things like that, but even the unique mission codes that will push those links to the right people, so you can do it with other agencies as well. Even when we have our surveillance teams that are out working, and particularly with DFR and sometimes with the drone truck as well, if it's a pre-planned operation, we have assets that are now asking for drones to be part of their mission package. So if we have a surveillance team out, looking at a neighborhood that is a particular crime going on, they may have 2 drone pilots in the drone truck staged a block away. And if they see something, they're putting the drone up. And with DroneSense, right, we can share that link directly with the surveillance supervisor, who can watch the feed while they're coordinating the efforts of the team. So tactical, we're on every tactical operation. Search and rescue, we're out there, missing kids, missing folks that are elderly in diminished capacities. We're in the wintertime now, so we're getting a lot more concern of people being out versus the summer. So we're doing that. But obviously our busiest day-to-day operation is the drone as first responder. We're operating out of 3 sites, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. We are, all 3 of those areas are urban areas. They're busy call volume. So we're running calls. Now, about a third of our calls that we run are theft related. So larceny, shoplifting, car break-ins, whatever's going on in the theft world. We run a lot of suspicious calls and, fights in progress. And I tell you that, you look at our first on scene, and we are struggling to, of all of our numbers of flights, we're maintaining the same 71-ish% first on scene. And it's like this stubborn number where I want it to go higher. But when you dig into the analysis, it's because we're getting more officer requests. They're seeing the value of the air support. So we're never going to be 100% first on scene, because we're getting more requests from officers that are seeing things themselves. They're getting flagged down by a citizen, and they're getting on the air and they're asking for the air support to come help in that particular call. So the calls for service, the 911 calls, is what's driving a lot of our flights.
Yeah, and you are a wealth of knowledge with this, because DFR is not just the one button or the one fits all, right? There's tactical DSR, there's DFR in this capacity. It's an equation. And as the industry is changing on the daily right now, you have to be in the forefront like yourself and being a part of it.
Yeah, it is changing. We're sitting here planning, like I think we had talked about this before, our budget cycles are July to June. So we're planning right now July 1 2025. And we think we're going to be operating in a certain mission set. And then boom, here comes NYPD getting the 200 and below ADSB waiver where, oh, hold up, half of our jurisdiction is outside of, it's Class G, outside the flight restricted zone, which I know we'll probably talk about. So we could get a waiver like that. Now, maybe we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, right? So things are changing so fast.
Let's dive into maybe even some more technical things here, like we were talking about day-to-day operations there. Let's talk about response times. Can you elaborate how drones has helped in speeding up response times? And then furthermore, are there particular instances where this made tangible difference?
Yeah, so for us, for our response times, our DFR, in my opinion, would not be as successful if it wasn't with its married partner, Live 911. So for us, we use Live 911. There's other, I guess, providers of similar service, but Live 911 I still think is the best right now for what it's doing. And so for us, when somebody calls 911, for our agency, it's about a 2-minute process time. Well, we're sitting in the operations room, Live 911. As soon as someone calls 911, we're hearing it when the call taker picks up the phone in the 911 center. We're seeing a pin drop on a map, and we don't need to wait for that 2-minute process time to send the drone. All we need to hear is something. Sometimes it's just screaming. Other times there's a fight, there's a robbery, whatever, and boom, we're putting in the coordinates in DroneSense and we're sending that thing.
DroneSense button, I want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if it's an area that our pilots, our remote pilots are familiar with, they're just clicking a location on the map because they know exactly where it is. You may have to type the address in the toolbar, whatever, but very quick, we're getting the drone up, we're getting the drone en route, and many times the drone is overhead on scene as the call is being dispatched or just after it's been dispatched. Now, the beauty of that is we are catching criminals that are still on the scene. We're pulling up on scene as they're running away. So now we're tracking them. So our criminal apprehensions in our DFR areas have increased significantly because we're getting there so fast. You think about 2 minutes to process the call, then you dispatch it. Now, for us in an urban environment, it could be 5 to 10 minutes to get on scene, depending on traffic and everything else. These guys are long gone. So we're catching criminals. Actually, we've had a couple of prosecutions, but one in particular, we had a victim that was stabbed. So call came in for an assault in progress at this intersection. Drone gets there first right away as the call is being dispatched, sees the suspect stab the victim in the arm, and guy takes off on foot. And units were still en route, still a few minutes out. We were able to follow that suspect, get those officers to be able to apprehend him. The victim was kind of cooperative, less than cooperative. Well, the state's attorney's office went forward on prosecution with a limited at best cooperative witness using the drone video and jury trial. So a unanimous decision convicted the guy. He got 7 years off of essentially drone video evidence on an assault with a deadly weapon. So we're seeing prosecution. I mean, you get to court. I've been to court a few times from when I'm flying and I'm there. I'm like, they're like, hey, what are you here for? I'm like, oh, I'm the pilot. They're like, oh, you're the drone? I'm like, yep. They're like, all right. And then you see the defense attorney walk away and come back and they're entering a plea of guilt. When you're capturing it live on video, we're also seeing officer safety enhancements and de-escalation, right? So we had a fight come in, not Live 911, subject with a 2x4, their group fight. We get there right away. They're fighting in the parking lot. We couldn't hear, but they could hear the sirens of the responding officers because you see their behavior change. Well, the guy with the weapon goes behind a dumpster and is hiding. No shirt on, right? The other guy's like kind of laying on the ground. So these cruisers are coming into the lot. Well, because we're already overhead, we're able to say, hey, cruiser 234, stop where you are. You got an armed subject that's behind the dumpster off your front left side of your vehicle. Make sure you give yourself distance. Guy comes out from behind the dumpster, swinging this thing at the cops. But because we were there first, provided that tactical information, those officers were able to have plenty of distance to engage in de-escalation and things like that. You roll in blind, right, into a scene. Now this guy pops out and you're 5 feet away. Could it be a deadly force encounter? So we're keeping officers safe. We're keeping suspects safe. We're catching bad guys. And the other thing we're doing with this response time is a lot of times we get there and we talk about staffing shortage. We're getting there, average about a minute and a half, depending where we're at. And a lot of times, in about 15% of our calls, and some agencies are a little higher depending, we're able to cancel responding units and we can handle it. We're overhead. We call the complainant on the phone. and we're able to basically handle it ourselves without the need of officers to respond. So that's been super helpful also.
That wraps up the first part of our conversation with Jason Cokinos. We've learned how Montgomery County's unique challenges led to innovative adoption of drones in law enforcement. But there's so much more to uncover. In part 2, we'll discuss the technical aspects of drone operations, the impact on response times, and the exciting future of this technology. You don't want to miss it. And that's a wrap for today's episode of DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and thought-provoking. As always, we want to hear from you. What do you think of today's topics? Do you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes? Don't forget, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn at DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or head over to DroneSense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts and get more content from the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who are passionate about the future of drones in public safety. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.